Hello, everybody. It's Deloaded here. And on this episode of the DonFuer podcast, we are talking to a player named Franknificent. He's a very prolific builder. He's the guy that built, most notably, the 2B2T Museum, which I toured in the last video that we posted. Say hello, Frank.
Hello, everybody. It's Franknificent. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you. So, you've had a long journey on 2B2T, but how did that journey begin?
I find it ironic that you say that when you've been playing for like twice as long, if not more than me,
Yeah.
since I only played for like 3 years and not even that long, to be honest.
So you joined in
Um,
2020?
I think I joined in like May 2020 and then I quit for a while. Like I didn't even do anything, to be honest. And then I really started playing in August. So yeah, we're at 3 years at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, over 3 years. And yeah, I played Minecraft for like solid decade. No, not a decade, but I started like 2011, I think, or 2012. Off and off. Like I didn't even buy Minecraft until 2020. I always played the cracked versions. Um, I probably got like picked up by the algorithm, saw some fit video about the incursions, and then wanted to leave an imprint on the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft, and that's how I ended up on 2B2T. And
Interesting.
yeah, I just wanted to build something in the spawn region, which I did. My first message on to be was something along the lines of, "Guys, I'm going to build a church for Etika, dedicated to Etika." And because I saw his streams, and that's one of the things that I saw before I joined to be was the Etika streams, where he was like reacting to the videos, and
Uh-huh.
that guy had such sincere enthusiasm for it that I wanted to like leave a little imprint dedicated to that, which I did, which was the first like small cathedral, the Notre Dame at
hmm
Spawn, which was used for Fight Club.
hmm
And yeah, that's how I started basically.
So you started because you saw Etika join?
I think I saw Fit, and then I probably somehow ended up seeing Etika, and I felt very touched by that. Like he was obviously already passed away. I wasn't around for the Etika invasion, but I saw his reactions, and I was like, if I'm gonna build something, I want to dedicate it to that. But it obviously was Fit first. Like Fit's content was booming in 2020 and 2019 too. And
Yeah. Yeah, it was hard
yeah.
to escape that. I mean, he was very he blew up really big in 2020, so
Oh yeah,
that
and he
makes
died
sense.
really well too in 2023. How long has he not uploaded?
Well, he's coming back, or so he
He's not.
says.
Sure, he does.
He said in the live stream that Jake did, Fit told
Hmm.
everybody he was coming back. So I
We'll
still
see,
have
man.
hope. I don't think it's time to give up hope yet.
If I was fit and I could like either like make some lazy stream and make thousands of dollars, or I would have to like rejoin a fucking toxic, stupid, dying community to make like over edits on video for like probably the same money. Why would you do it? Like, I
Yeah.
think he's done. I can't blame him for it, to be honest.
Yeah,
It's,
well, the QSMP, I mean, that's pretty high status. So you can't blame him for wanting to be in with those guys.
mhm. No, I don't blame him. I've just never seen it, to be honest. I know it exists, but
Yeah. How did you get involved with Fight Club?
I think I messaged Forescan one day. I still have like a screenshot of it somewhere. Like, hello Forescan, is Fight Club still a thing? I would like to build a building for Fight Club. Can I please do this? And then, yeah, me and like I met a guy on 2B that also wanted to build a Fight Club arena. He
hmm
was also new, and we had nothing, and we didn't join any groups. So like that's actually playing 2B. You literally have nothing, you know. And what we did is I designed this little church the Notre Dame, like a very small version of it. But we needed like 9,000 blocks obsidian for it. So how are you gonna get 9,000 blocks obsidian when you literally have nothing and no contacts in the community? And Forscan is not like someone that's gonna involve himself with the construction of the Fight Club arenas. He just shows up during the event, you know. Um, so we literally manually grinded pickaxes and just started mining each chest at 0 0. So you'll probably notice that 0 0 in 2020 was way more active with PvPers and people just constantly crystal PvPing than it is these days.
Yeah,
So construct
definitely
like
is.
right now, if I log in onto B, I could probably build the entire build in like half an hour, with printer and like all the materials. But that took us like a week and a half of hours a day.
Hmm.
And that guy, his name is Monkey Boy 121. Shout out to Monkey Boy 121. We actually built the thing, and yeah, like that's how the first cathedral was built and how we used for Fight Club, the first Fight Club I was a part of in August.
Yeah. Well, back
And
then, Spawn had a lot more ender chests than it does now.
oh yeah, there were entire towers of it. I would go
Yeah.
to 0 with like nothing but like one totem that I held on there because I thought it was a valuable item, and then I would start mining down, and then I would be killed by someone at the bottom. Lose have
Right.
that was the most inefficient playing, and also one of the most fun times I have had. It's
Just hanging around at
that
Spawn was the
yeah.
most fun you had.
It was a challenge because that build was so much work, even though it's so simple. But it was done independently. I didn't need to join a group or suck up two established players or like it was actually playing anarchy. You're building at spawn. You're
Right.
building a base. You're playing the game. That's what I was doing, and that's why I have such fond memories of it.
Hmm. That
Hmm.
that leads me to an interesting question. What would you say is your most fun experience on 2v2t?
Probably that evening, Jake the Snake was criticized for uh,
Oh,
an
the Jake
incident.
the the Jake the wait, the Jake the Snake drama is the most fun you've had on 2v.
Exactly. The moment he
How is that
started hanging,
possible?
you can censor this if you want, but I'm gonna use a careful language here. But the moment he started hanging himself, fake hanging himself on like a clothing rack, that's one of the most fun times I've had on 2B2T because he was so out there and just it was all so fake and so absurd. That is one of the most funny moments I've ever experienced. Yeah, and that's not even on 2B2T. That's just like the
Okay.
community around
I
it.
didn't expect that. I thought you were gonna say some other shit. I expected
Like
you
what?
to say like griefing Sky Masons was your most fun or something.
It is also fun, but it was also fun. Like there's like a list of like 5 things that are like super fun to do, but the Jake shit was so
It was just the most
absurd.
fun or funny
It was
or
just
something. Is that what
yeah,
you're
it
saying?
was just. Well, the thing is also when it happened, like Jake, for context, Jake was accused of doing inappropriate things on stream. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was confronted for 6 hours straight in the VC by people. The moment he would join the VC, people would join and then like talk to him. And this is typical Jake. Like it's not like these people were able to force him into a VC. The guy kept joining it for 6 hours straight. Why you would do that when you're in such like controversy? I have no idea. Probably
Hmm.
because you're seeking attention. And he ended up faking suicide. Um, and a lot of people thought it was real, even though you have to be delusional to think that like a super small, thin clothing rack is gonna be able to hang Jake the Snake, who was like 400 pounds at the time. Impossible. But even the fact that so many, mostly younger audience members, were believing that this was true in one way or another, was already funny in of itself. And the adults in the group, it was me, Forescan, Anime. We were also there, and we were more aware of like how absurd this was. It was like a performance basically by Jake, and it was just really funny, all of it.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think there's any chance that Jake was serious with any of that. But
No, he wasn't, but people did believe, and that's because so many are just unexperienced. They,
yeah,
they especially when you're on the younger side, and
yeah.
yeah.
Have you talked to Jake recently? He's actually gotten a lot more mature, I think, in the last couple of
Jake has,
years.
yeah, he has, but you can still see the old Jake in it. So Jake has fucking like Jake was gone for a while.
Yeah.
And then after like a year or so, he came back and he made a beautiful interview on the Dickcast that I really pushed Dick to do. I told him like you have to interview Jake. He has a story to tell, and he did. Jake was sincere. He talked about controversy in his own ways, and he apologized. And there's basically nothing more you can expect of him, right? At that point,
Yeah.
he grew up. He apologized. He discussed it. He warned other people. Recently, after yet another year, he came back and now I see traces of the old Jake popping up again because not only is he like active again, even though it seemed like a closed chapter, but he's also like trying to remove any mention of all the controversies from his wiki page and the internet. So he still seems to care, even though he had already dealt with it. He didn't deny it happened. He had already discussed it in the podcast with Dick C. So he's like still showing a bit of weird behavior where he's like still getting riled up by people like mentioning all these things, even though he already had dealt with it. You know,
Well,
he should just.
okay. For clarification, if people in the audience don't know what exactly we're talking about, he supposedly flashed himself on a live stream. He claims that this was an accident.
3 times, yeah.
Um, it's possible that it was an accident. Accidents like that do occasionally happen on stream, and you know,
Yeah.
it would be it would be crazy for somebody to do that on purpose. I mean,
What I think
I don't
is
know.
it probably the thing is it is possible that it was all accidents, even if it's like multiple times, because the thing is this guy streamed himself for days on end. I'm
Right.
not joking.
He's like
For
exhausted in the
days.
stream.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like because that's what he talked about in the interview, that he was like mentally unstable and like just like he talked sincerely about this. It gives context to the whole thing.
Right.
But the thing is with Jake, he already dealt with it. Yeah. So now when people like bring it up again, he should just like laugh about it or just block him, because he dealt with it. The fact that he's still trying to censor it now, to me, shows that he's like falling back into his old habits, because that's what he used to do before the interview. So Jake is back, but I'm not happy with what I'm seeing, to be honest. It's yeah.
Okay.
But I love Jake the Snake, just for your information.
Okay. All of that,
Yeah, I do.
and he loves Jake the Snake.
Yeah, I do. Jake the Snake is funny. He's one of the most like that's why there was a statue of him at the 2B Museum, because he's
Yeah.
an icon. There has never been a streamer like him at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
there's
is
one
honestly
guy.
a funny guy. I think he's pretty funny, honestly.
He's funny. He's funny. He's original. There's never been someone like him on 2B, at least that I know of. The only one is like there was this other streamer in 2019, Super Duper Good Boy. Have you ever seen him?
No, I haven't.
He was a streamer that did the same as Jake, but then like 10 times worse. He would like super overreact to anything happening on stream, do little dances, like just absurd
Yeah.
shit, basically. But he
Yeah.
didn't stick to it. Jake fucking did a month-long stream. Jake just, there's never, I like people that stand out, and that have a persona and a unique character, and Jake definitely had that. And that's why I love Jake.
His like music video parodies are great too. Everybody
They're
loves
fucking,
those. Everybody
it's
loves those.
amazing.
Yeah.
They're fucking good. Dupe Griever is classic.
Duke Reefer is under the museum.
Oh yeah, there's a
Yeah.
fucking music machine of it. And
So
nice
I'm
thing also is that Duke Griever, like it's very like Jake obviously is only like he's pretty known within the 2B community, but not outside of it. He never was able to become relevant or like known, basically better word, known outside of it. I just find it very cool that this guy has become like an actual living meme, but only within this like super small community that consists of at most a few thousand people. I find that really fascinating. Yeah.
right, right. So I'm like referencing your wiki to try to figure out good questions to ask. I had no idea that you were involved with II.
Mm-hmm.
It says Baki
Very
invited you
short.
to be leader of the Baki or of the
I building division, yeah.
yeah, the II building division. I had no idea
Yeah.
about that. So were you like in II for a long time, or was it just a short
No.
stint?
It was a very short stint because first I built with the Guardsmen and then I pissed some people off there. So I was like basically purged from there. So then I joined Infinity Incursion and I was instantly made building chief with a
Hmm.
few other people. And I did like with a few people one little base. And then I decided to raid a Guardsman base. And there were also Guardsman people in II. So then I decided to leave that too.
Right.
And then straight after that, I joined DonFuer. And then I made it to DonFuer 21 before it was griefed by uh, Team Rocket. I'm not sure if you remember that. So I
Yeah.
basically like I made a speed run through those three groups within like 2 months or something, like really quick.
Yeah. So
Never
so
did anything meaningful there.
explain from your perspective for our audience who probably doesn't know what happened with you and the guardsmen.
Okay, so I joined 2B in like August, basically 2020. I built its spawn. I built a cathedral. Someone gave me a bunch of EHS, so I was able to make a bigger one. And then Forscan got me invited to the Guardsmen. And the Guardsman was basically already over, like it was already basically dead. Yeah, like
It was
that's
already
literally.
over 2 months after it started.
Am I wrong though?
No,
Am
you're
I
not
wrong?
wrong. That's why I'm laughing.
Exactly. So
You're
to
not
me,
wrong.
like you have to realize this was the first like I had only interacted with that one dude that I built the first cathedral with, who already quit. He already quit. And Forscan. That's it. No groups, no discords, no nothing. So
Right.
I joined Guardsmen or the Discord, and I'm allowed to come to this base and the Mantium, and I built a cathedral there. Yeah. Um, and that was actually pretty base because that base was really active for like a week,
That was
and I
in,
met a
well,
lot
hold on. That
of
was in early 2021.
January. Yeah, January
January?
2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I consider Adamantium to be the last Guardsman base, pretty much. Like everything after that could just be
Mhm.
forgotten. It's all bad.
It's just Astral. That's what it is
Yeah.
from that
Well,
on.
it was that when Joey was in charge, and then I took over for a while, and then Orson took over for a while, and it was just a revolving door of like who's in charge now and what base is gonna last a couple weeks before it gets griefed, and you know
Yeah.
they could never get back. The group could never get back on its feet without Hermeticlock. He was the
hmm
unifying force keeping that group together, and without him, everyone just wants to split off into their own thing.
Yeah.
But but
Well,
so
that's why
so
that's why I came in.
so tell me about your time like after Adamantium. You joined the group, right?
No, not really. After the Guardsman, I was. You cannot understand that story without understanding why I was like even removed from it in the first place.
Oh,
Um, because what happened, that base got griefed by Wayo, I think, and
Adamantium
there
got
was
reefed by Wayo.
yeah,
I don't remember that.
it was.
Okay.
Anyway, and then that happened, and I joined the VC, and someone was asking me like for building materials or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but there was someone else in the VC that I had never spoken to before. Yeah, that sounded like a fucking man, and that person kept talking over me. Yeah, which happens all the time in VCs. Like I'm sure you can imagine.
Yeah.
So I said to the person that like was talking to me, I said, "Can you just DM me because this dude keeps talking over me and I can't hear you."
Oh,
And
I
it
I
turns
think I know
out,
who you're talking about.
and it turns out that what I referred to as this dude was actually like this player Sakuya, who is like a member of Nerds Inc. or something. Doesn't even play to be, I think, not even in the Guardsmen. But that caused such a fucking shitstorm because apparently this is a transgender woman, and I had to by default know that, and I was like, I was forced basically to apologize by Orson at the time, and I refused to do it because I really felt like this was like such an extreme overreaction to something that was completely
Oh
unintended,
gosh.
and that's basically where that was my first interaction with the 2B community. Yeah, me being expunged because of like something like that. And what I really didn't like, not just this incident, but that people around it, yeah, that I had like interacted with for a week and had a good time, didn't have the balls to stand up and say, "No, this is not good." Yeah, people stood by and just nodded along with it because they didn't want to disturb like the nice environment. And that's like a cancer in the 2B community that's really fucking deep rooted these days. And that is
Okay.
deep.
So you insulted Sakuya, and then Orson
I did.
forced you to apologize.
Basically, it was like, yeah, you can't come back until you apologize. You really have to do it, and I refused to do it
I don't think
because
I was
not.
there for any of this shit.
No, you weren't active at the time.
Okay.
You came in back later, but basically, I was like semi-forced to do it because if you're being told that you are like unwelcome until you do that, like I find that so. It's like it's not. It's blown so up. It's blown up so much that like it's something I will not submit to when it's blown up so much, you know?
Right.
Especially when it's such a small thing. Like at that point, it's like a power play and it's like a ritual. You have to kowtow, you know? And I'm not gonna do that
So
for
was
something like
was that the
that. No.
beginning of your issues with Orson, or was that just a hiccup and then?
Well,
Because I know
Orson
you became
then
friends with
for
him later,
months,
right?
Orson for months threatened to blow up all my shit, and I always challenged him to do it. I told him where my spawn builds were because they were all made out of obsidian. So good luck removing them. And we were at odds for months, basically for no reason.
In like early 2021.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He would
Yeah,
like
that was
send
when
me
the fifth
TNT
column was like
emojis.
just getting started. Like it, I
Exactly.
think it like barely existed at that point.
And that's when this happened. That's when I was like picked up by I. But that's because then I started like getting guardsman bases and just going there. I
Yeah.
didn't even grieve yet. I had never grieved. I just showed up and then pissed off people, and that the people in II didn't like that. So
Right.
I left
That
that
was the
also for
beginning of
that.
your beef with the guardsmen, basically.
Yeah, I just started. The group was then actually dead after Adamantium. But whenever they would start a base, they would talk about it, and then instantly I would give them the coordinates in game, or
Uh-huh.
like DM them to someone because I had insiders in that group. And insiders mean nothing when a group is dead, obviously, but it was just payback,
Well,
and it was just nice to do.
at some point, Orson got kicked out, and then
Yeah,
you and him teamed up to
that
like
was in August. Yeah,
troll the homeland or something. Can you talk about that?
yeah, in August. That's where the whole Orson Joey drama starts, basically, where like Joey took over the Guardsmen and turned it into his building group, which later became Astral, basically. And Orson like started his whole beef with him. And one way or another, I'm not sure how anyway, but he asked me if I could like construct like a monument on the homeland dedicated to that drama.
Right.
And me and Graphixious and Prep 2 and RL Bob just did it. It's like a giant obsidian monument based on the Soviet palace. It's like a massive project that the Soviet Union tried to realize in the 30s, I think.
Hmm.
And it's just like a massive giant obsidian thing on the homeland. Nothing too crazy, to be honest. Yeah, that's when he realized I wasn't like as bad as he probably thought I was, or
Hmm.
that he basically had no reason to despise me that much at that time.
Right.
That's how that started.
Yeah. The guardsman story is such a roller coaster of like drama, and I struggle to remember all the details because there was so many ups and downs of it where it was like, oh, this person's in charge, or like Orson's in charge, then Joey gets Orson kicked out, then Hermetic Lock brings Orson back, then Joey quits, then I get Orson kicked out, then Hermetic Lock brings Orson back, then it's just like this like roller coaster of all of this like I mean, we were even having to debate like should it be allowed to grief fellow guardsmen? That was like an issue that we were debating. It's
Very
like
interesting to have such like deep debates about a group that doesn't even exist anymore,
it's
because
well,
that's
but
basically what Guardsman was.
it's like to me that was such a no-brainer. It's like duh, of course you shouldn't be allowed to grieve a fellow guardsman. That's the whole point of being in the guardsman. But I don't know. There there's a whole rabbit hole that we could go down with that.
Oh yeah,
Um, at some point
yeah.
I ended up in charge and you kept showing up to the bases, and that was very irritating.
I know. You really didn't start. That's really started to dislike me back then.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that.
That was sort of the beginning of me being like mad at Frank or irritated with Frank. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I want to make something very clear. This is a nice plateau to do it. Nice platform. Yeah.
sure.
But like I really shortly joined DonFuer like in early 2021, right after the Guardsman stuff, basically.
Yeah.
After I like it's all in the same time basically. And I also like that's also when NoCom happened. I started like I griefed Spawn Mason's base and Lodge on the same day. With the same group that griefed DonFuer actually, by coincidence. So I quit because I remember DMing you and saying something like, thank you for allowing me in DonFuer, but I'm gonna leave because I don't know when this exploit is gonna stop, and I don't want to endanger DonFuer. Yeah, not sure
Uh-huh.
if you remember this, but you could probably find this in our old DMs. And I've never, at that time, never had any bad experiences with DonFuer. I want to make that very clear. I've never been mistreated there
Hmm.
because some people act like they think I had bad experiences there, or they act as if DonFuer treats its actual members really bad. And I want to make clear I never had that experience when I was in the group for like a week.
Well, I really appreciate that, Frank. Yeah, we always try to be as fair as we possibly can with the rules. And a lot of the people we're dealing with, are like high schoolers, and they're short-tempered, and when you kick somebody out, they don't always take it well. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way that we try to handle it is when we kick somebody out, regardless if I mean, 90% of the time they vehemently disagree with the reasons and they think it was illegitimate or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
the policy is always okay. You know, go in peace, right? If you leave
Mm-hmm.
us alone, we'll leave you alone. It's like a mutual separation thing, you know. It's not supposed to be drama, and
Yeah.
people crave drama. That's a hidden secret about this server. Is like there's a lot of people who say they don't like drama that completely love drama and they're chasing it. Like
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
yeah, and it's kind
I
of
mean, in a
annoying.
way, it's part of the story. Like people play to be to make a story. They play to be either to be do something creative or to like. I think Bezo talked about this in an interview once,
Uh huh.
and that's something that really stuck to me. He said something like, "Yeah, with other games, whatever you do has already been pre-planned by the creators. You only follow like a pathway that has already been paved for you. Whereas
Right.
on 2B, you can create your own story. You can do whatever you want, and the reactions from the community are part of it." So I can understand why people like drama because it's just part of basically the tale, like the story that you're creating for yourself. I can imagine that being very addictive, to be honest.
Yeah,
Although I personally,
that's true. That's true. And there's a place for it. I mean, there's a time and place
Mhm.
for that style of drama. It
How do you feel about it yourself?
oh well, I it I mean there's a time and place. There's a time and place for it. There's a difference
Hmm.
between um two people not liking each other and there being like a rivalry there and
Hmm.
drama.
Yeah.
To me, drama is like petty, like high school style bullshit where you have like just constant like trash talking or oh, this person said that who or I'm mad at this person because he said this one thing that bothered me and I'm gonna hold a grudge to all eternity.
Hmm.
Um, and I think as I've gotten older and I've gotten more mature, my tolerance level for drama has dropped
Mm.
a lot from what it was.
So you can't tolerate it anymore, or way less.
I just want to avoid it. I'm at a point now where it's like, all right, I'm not even gonna attempt, because it always turns into these battles. It always turns
Hmm.
into a like a drama battle
Or like
where
super long grudges that people just will not let go no matter what. That's also like a thing you see a lot.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And I've been reaching out to people that
Hmm.
um, I used to have beef with, or who have beef with me, and just
Hmm.
offering to talk to them because I'm just so over it and I want to mend fences wherever possible.
Hmm.
And we kind of fixed our beef, and
Hmm.
I've been talking even to some people in the Spawn Masons. I've been talking to like Todorak
Hmm.
and some of them. I do have to put my group first and my group's interest first,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean that I can't be civil with
So
these
let
people.
me put your claims to test, okay? So have you made peace with Kizzy Coco yet?
Well, we're certainly leaving him alone. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, but when is the big reconciliation gonna happen?
He doesn't want to talk to me, as far as I know.
Oh, that's a
Actually,
shame.
actually, when we kicked him out, he refused to speak to me unless I gave him an apology up front. So at that point, I'm like, okay, you're being
Hmm.
childish here. Because
Yeah.
after we kicked him out and he was making a big fuss and acting like it was unfair, I was in his DMs like, look, okay, I'm willing to talk to you about this and I'll hear you out. If you think that we've been unfair to you with the rules or something, then make your case. But let's just
It's
have that
really absurd.
conversation. And he was like, no. He flat out refused to talk to me unless I apologized to him up front. And I'm like, I'm unwilling to do that. So from that point on, I have basically never spoken to him at length.
Hmm.
We have had
He's one
other
of the.
encounters where he's opposed us on the wiki or done minor things,
Yeah,
but
the downfall stuff, right?
yeah, all
Where
that
he's
stuff.
completely fixated on it, even
Yeah,
though like That's the hard truth about Dawnfall. Like, yeah, the group took a hit, but it took like a week for it to rebound, I think.
Right.
In reality, like, yeah, I mean, it was funny, but it's not a fall of a group in the same way that Skyfall was for a while. But that's a whole different debate, to be
Well,
honest.
one of the things people don't understand about that is like 70 something percent of the membership we lost was like people we kicked.
Mhm.
It wasn't like these
Yeah.
people quit because they were upset or something. It's like, nah, we just decided we needed to cut
Hmm.
cut some of the people that were inactive.
Eat
You
that
know,
meat.
I took the opportunity to just purge the group, and it was one of the best things
Yeah.
I ever did because activity went
Hmm.
up, not down.
I know it did.
Yeah,
Instantly multiple projects. Yeah, I've argued with people over this. I'm not too involved because I'm not gonna lower myself to a debate about a wiki page
sure.
name. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I've memed on DonFuer at that time. Yeah, I was part of the. I was involved with getting DonFuer 26, and I made that nice clip of you calling your own members stupid. And at the same time, I'll also
Bro,
tell
that was
people
so out of
DonFuer,
context, man.
DonFuer,
That was a cheap shot on your part.
DonFuer, DonFuer did not fall. Okay, it came back easily. So I'm able to combine those things. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Um, and I think that we have a much better understanding of each other than back then.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Huh.
So we talked about the guardsmen a little bit.
Hmm.
So that's sort of most of 2021. What was, well, is there anything else in 2021 that you want to talk about?
Yeah, basically, so right after I left Guard, after I was removed from the Guardsman Discord, and then basically stared out of II, then the Spawn Mason stuff happened right after that in July 2021. Because what happened was I was in DonFuer, and DonFuer 21 got griefed by this group called Team Rocket. Yeah,
Right.
which basically was it's basically better known as J Balls, which is a reference to Jake the Snake. Yeah, it all comes back to Jake in the end, but and I didn't. I just straight up joined that group because it was really funny. And what happened was they found Chunkhaven, which was like a big Spawn Mason base at the time. And at the same time, I found Spawn Mason Lodge for that weekend. So what I did is we planned to grieve the lodge and the base at the same time, because we literally have like both things now, you know.
Right.
But what I did is, I kind of at the time I tried to put the spawn bases. Like I didn't really know who the spawn masons were even. You know, I was. You have to realize, even with all that, I wasn't too involved with the community. So I knew the spawn masons were a group, you know, but I wasn't like full into that history at all. So they were building a lodge. They knew I knew where it was because I was walking around there, and I was even helping them build it a little bit. Yeah. And I was still contemplating on whether I should just straight up grief it when the moment arrives. Yeah, because we had that mega base, you know, we had that big base around the corner. Um, or whether I should spare it, because I was at that point the only one that knew where it was, not the other guys. So what I did is I asked the spawn masons back then if I would be allowed to be in the VC whenever they're doing their large thing or not. Yeah, that's what I was asking, and their answer was no. And to me, that was such like I didn't even know that the spawn masons were known for that. I experienced it myself. Such an elitist like form of behavior, you know,
Right.
that I decided to just okay, I'm not allowed. Then we're going to grieve this lodge. So what we did is we grieved that lodge and then straight up went to the base and grieved that base and stole the stash. And that's when they started using NoCom more publicly. The grief of Chunkhaven by J-Balls played a bigger role in like the exposure of NoCom than some people realize. Because before that, obviously the Masons had already been using it a lot, but they used it straight up to like get after all the grievers. And during that situation, also Todorek started going to like older bases, like older stash locations of mine. He started loading my pearl, which really fucking freaked me out at the time because I didn't know about like that there was a current exploit, you know. So out of nowhere, this motherfucker loads my pearl, and yeah, I considered like I didn't know what was happening. That's also why I left DonFuer back then because I was like, I don't know what this is, you know.
Yeah.
This can go on for years for all I know, you know. I don't want to endanger. I was even like quitting for a while back then because only when it was over did I rejoin again.
Right. That was a
But yeah,
very,
that
I
was a
mean,
big thing.
NoCom was a wild wild thing.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody lost shit to that.
I barely lost anything, to be honest, but that's because I didn't have that much yet. Like 20 dubs you can move in no time. That's. Uh,
Hmm.
but it was like very. It was a very like after dealing with like two groups that like you don't work with groups well. Basically, that's what my experience was. You instantly get like a big target on your back from like the most established group. Basically, that's what happened. So my relationship with the wider 2BTT community had completely like been destroyed at that point.
Hmm.
I was blacklisted from Guardsmen. I wasn't welcome in II, and I was hated by the spawn masons. And I don't have DonFuer. So at that point, what can you do?
Right,
If you
and that was
wanna.
everybody. I mean,
Hmm?
and that was everybody back then, and that's kind of still everybody today. You know?
Well, not really, because that's when other projects happened. Like Pit Fight, I was able to join Pit Fight, and we made a giant spaceship arena in the end. High Charity is called. It's still there, by the way, just like
Hmm.
7K from Enspawn. And I was also kicked out from Pit Fight for like drama. But me and Anime have settled it like gentlemen at this point.
Interesting. So
Yeah,
okay, so after all of that, so that's when you ran afoul of the Masons. I assume from then on
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
didn't like you.
Yeah. And in their like following them most of the like building community basically. Like,
Yeah.
that's how I experience it at least. It's like, and those are my own experiences. Whenever I criticize the Masons, it's not like something that Orson is telling me or Foreskin is telling me. These are also my own experiences with the Spawn Masons.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, one of the things about the Spawn Masons is they have this very they have people from every single group that are in the Masons. And so
Mm-hmm.
they have this very powerful like it's a good word for it is soft power.
Oh yeah.
They have like this soft power influence over the entire building community, like you had said, where if you do something that upsets them or pisses them off, they have like little gossip. It seems like they have little gossip minions that like spread the news that you're no good
Mm-hmm.
to everybody. Um, and I've
Well,
experienced this
yeah.
too back in 2020. And
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy. Like there are people. I'm sure there are people in the Masons right now that weren't affected at all by anything you did because they joined after, but they
Mm-hmm.
still don't like you just because like that ethos or whatever has like rubbed off on them. And I mean there
Yeah.
there are people in the Spawn Masons that I've never spoken to that joined long after I did what I did.
Mm.
Um and they still like, you know, don't want to talk to me because I've been villainized or whatever.
Yep.
Uh
That for me happened with the Guardsmen. Like I made that one, like I had that one incident, and ever since then, people you were like, because you have to realize there were also spawn mages in the Guardsmen, of course, you know.
right. There
So
was a
it for
bunch
me
of
it
them.
already happened. Like it basically happened within 3 months of joining for me, like that happened to me.
Right.
Um,
One of
yeah, this
my
is very
goals
recognizable.
with the Guardsmen, I know the conversation keeps going back to the Guardsmen, but
Go for it.
that's one
It's
of our
cool to talk about.
touchstones that we both have in common. Um, One of my goals with the Guardsmen later on in the group's life was trying to decouple it from the Masons. Because we had all these people in the group that would just never show up to any base ever. And they were just
Hmm.
like grandfathered in. They were like old Spawn Mason members that like Herm was friends with or something, and so he had them in the group. And it's like, but they don't show up, Herm. Why are they here? Like, for all we know, it could be one of these people that's leaking. Like, come on, we got a clean house. And that just wasn't really allowed. And the way that was framed too was like, oh, Deloaded's exercising his grudge against the Masons by trying to get them kicked out of the Guardsmen or what. It's like, no, no, it's literally not that I have a grudge. It's that they don't show up. Um, I don't know,
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's how it is. Like, I mean, they control the party committee, the wiki. Uh, they used to control the archive server, but I think
Mhm.
Turbin's not a Mason anymore, isn't that? Did he leave? Didn't he leave?
Listen, that motherfucker has like that logo on his skin. As long as he has that, he's in the group for me. Like I don't see
Okay.
any like that's
Well,
just
you have to remember
I
that
don't.
Hermetic Lock is funding that,
Yeah.
so
So.
it's at least got that going for it, where uh, Herm has the purse strings, so you can trust it to be a little bit, fair. And honestly, in my experience, Turbin has been very fair.
Mm.
So I'm not going to protest about the archive. I think the archive's wonderful.
I'm not protesting. Just whenever people, that's what I don't like. We're like, oh, but that person is no longer in the Masons. They just happen to be at like every single base. Like, no, you're just in the Masons, okay? Like, you just are. Boom. And it
Yeah,
also means I'm gonna hold you accountable to it. You cannot like, on the one hand, formally disassociate yourself from it, but like, not expect me to question you when stuff like the IHOP shit happens. Yeah,
hmm,
you are in the Masons or you're not, and for me, you are, and it comes from many people.
yeah.
But
See. I mean, the Masons were they're kind of a tragedy, honestly, because there was a point in time where they were the greatest group on the server, and they deserved it. And
mhm.
that was, I would say back in 2017, 2018, the early days.
Mhm.
Um,
And you were a part of it.
well, sure, but even after I quit 2B, they
Mhm.
did the Mason Eclipse and
Yeah.
all kinds of other really cool stuff.
Mhm.
And then because they've been number one for so long, they've gotten elitist and corrupt. And they they kicked Herm to the curb, who was their original founder.
Mhm.
It's just a tragedy because there are honestly a lot of really great people in there.
I mean, you're not talking about the spawn mason yourself, so you can't blame me for like fully explaining my visions on the spawn masons. Because otherwise, I'm gonna be sitting here saying nothing as if it's I agree with what you say because I don't. Yeah. I think the biggest problem is not that they become too elitist. I think there's two big problems with the spawn masons. They develop a very creepy culture of complete conformism, in which if you want to become a spawn mason today, this is what you need to do. You are either an incel programmer, or you need to be the most plain, uninteresting child with no independent opinion, no independent, outstanding, or unique character, and you just need to smile and nod whenever it's expected of you. Yeah, that's the culture they've created. It's the same culture that means that whenever something happens, when people's moral spine is like whenever they're like questioned or whenever you're put under pressure, you'll just say, "Oh no, I have no opinion on it. I'm neutral," or like they'll just say nothing. Like I despise a culture like that, especially when it's coming from a fucking anarchy culture, anarchy server. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the first problem. I hate that shit. I did not join to be just to be thrown back into fucking high school. Yeah, I've had enough of that. Second, that's my personal view again. Undeserved admin favorism. Yeah, I know you and I disagree on this, but I truly believe that the spawn masons get admin favorism. Doesn't mean they have admin, but none of their members get fucking trial banned for 2 years like I did. Muted, purged off the Reddit. These people can spam in chat the most nonsensical nonsense. Yeah, nonsensical bullshit, and they know they're not gonna get muted. Yeah, that is admin favorism, and there's a reason for that. That has nothing to do with admin or like that they have admin because they don't. It's just because the spawn masons have become so plain and so safe that it's perfect for an admin like the 2BTT's owner, Curtis at the time. It's perfect for him to like push a group like that because that group is not going to get to be cancelled. They're not going to build swastikas or say racist stuff in chat. The spawn masons, is perfect for a server like 2B2T to survive in today's culture. And that's why I think it happens, and that's
Hmm.
why I hate the spawn masons because they have been able to get so much favors, and it's not even like they're acting as if it's like all their own work, and it just straight up isn't.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
So I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Let's try to take a skeptical view of this, or let's think about it logically for a second, right? If if what you say is true, and
mhm.
they're being favorited because they're more family friendly or they have this cleaner image,
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't the owner be favoring uh, people that appear in fit videos?
I think he
Which the
does.
spawn masons
I sometimes
don't
wonder why.
usually.
I sometimes wonder why, for example, basically every single member of BSB got prow banned. Yeah, like literally just purged off the server. Yeah, if you use the same IP, you're banned. Yeah, if you say your chat in chat, you're someone, you're banned. Like literally to the point where you're really wondering if the admin knows who you are. Yeah, I've had situations like that where I would just say in a DM on a brand new account with a new IP, everything new.
But
I'm
what you're
Frank,
saying
and
doesn't make sense though. I
I'll say,
mean, FitMC
yeah.
doesn't like the spawn masons though.
Do they oppose him though? I don't think so. And Fit does not like means nothing. He makes content about them. I doubt Fit cares in the end, to be honest.
Well, his
Do you
job, I
really
mean, his job is to make he'll make videos about what's topical. So,
Fit does not care about
I'm
2B
sure
drama, dude, at all.
for most cases he has to put whatever his personal opinion is aside and just try to make
Hmm.
a video. Um, but if we're alleging that it's this they have special fit. I mean, I'm glad you're not saying you think they have admin because there are people out there that do. Um,
Well, to be fair, like even if that was the case, it would be impossible to prove. Like
yeah.
it's like, but I don't think that's because you don't need that. Because the thing is also, what I think is happening can literally happen without any traces being left. Because the only way you can prove it is by literally being like on the dashboard of the fucking server, or on like whoever is monitoring the Reddit, or like there's no way to prove this. All I have is circumstantial evidence by default.
So
There's
you
nothing
think
more I can
okay? So
get.
you think the only evidence it sounds like you have is that they don't get prio banned. Is that it?
Well, yeah, they don't get prow banned. I see them spamming in chat endlessly. When Joey started Astral back in like August 2021, I saw him not like non-stop putting the invite link in the chat. I would get muted on a brand new account if I said either I'm Frank or said the same word twice. Yeah, I knew when I saw him do that non-stop that he didn't even fear of getting muted. He knew it was not going to happen, and to me that was a big red signal. After that, I started noticing more things. Yeah, like he had rebane that showed up at like people that reset maps all the time. I just found it very weird. Yeah, especially in that context. I saw them getting pushed on the Reddit non-fucking stop. When I made a post, even on brand new accounts, it's always removed. I had a situation where a bunch of stash hunters found an old like abandoned stash base of mine with a building and a map art. They tried to boast about it on the Reddit. We found a Franknificent base and it was removed from it. So even talking about me was not allowed. I had someone at a time when I was resetting the maps for my map ID wall. There was someone that made a post on the Reddit saying like, "Why is this happening? Because all the maps are the same." Someone commented like, "Oh, that's Frank Nielsen resetting the maps," and then the post was removed. So while I see these people not getting banned, exploiting to the fucking roof, not getting muted and being pushed on the Reddit, whereas I get like literally prosecuted in the context of the anarchy server, of course, but I literally get purged off the server. I see everyone around me, all my friends, getting purged off the server, literally. Yeah, that makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me, and I can't
Yeah.
really explain it otherwise. And not
Well,
to mention that
I
also,
can't
there's one more
comment too
thing. There's
much
one
on
more thing.
that because you're
I have one
speaking to
more
your
thing to add.
personal experience about it,
I have
and
one more thing to add.
okay.
We shouldn't act as if admin favoritism has never happened on 2B. That's literally it has happened before in the last few years with the whole third backdoor. Like this is not something that's like it has never happened and therefore it's completely
Did you
out of
just
the
say
realm of
third
possibility.
back door?
Yeah. During the
What?
third backdoor, don't you know the history of the third backdoor? In 2015 that is.
Oh, in 2015. Okay, I thought
Yeah,
you
yeah.
meant
The
there was a
third
new
backdoor.
back door that you were.
No,
Okay.
I'm referring like basically we have this history of the backdoors, the first, second, and third backdoor. First is in 2011 with Pop Up. Then in 2013 you have like the one with iTrist and a Powerbyte where they teleported to the world border. And in 2015 you have like the third backdoor where they basically copied Imps 2 and then grieved the lands and then like had the week of destruction or something like that. Yeah. At the
Yeah.
time, it was exposed that the account George Bush 420 was actually helping them. Yeah. And the thing is also, if you really look into that history, which I have done, I Tristan was able to do these things because he was developing plugins for the admin. Yeah. So he had a connection straight to the admin. What I think happened is that he was backdooring the server, but the admin or admins or one of the admins was allowing it to happen. Yeah. Because otherwise, like, you're not going to tell me that these people just teleport all over the place, grieve 50 bases, make mega stashes, and the admin, who at the time was still involved with the community because it was a smaller community, does not notice these things happening. Like, I don't believe that. This is favoritism. Yeah.
Well, we have to draw a line here between the tyranny, which later became Nerds Inc., and the Spawn Masons.
Well, Nerds Inc. existed earlier than the tyranny. It's also like a misconception people have. So this is actually where ONAP has like red pilled a bunch of people. If you really look into his post from November 2022,
Okay,
he
I'm not gonna listen to
basically
anything from Oneb, man. That guy's
I don't
nuts.
care. I'm going to talk about it, and it's actually pretty solid because I've looked into it. Yeah, he looked into these old Steam groups. Yeah, where iTristan was like connected to certain accounts that seemed to be connected to the admin of TB. And one of these accounts at the time had like a name that had the words nerds in it. Yeah, and the way the name was phrased is the exact same way as like their current own, like they have their own social media, like not social media, but like their alternative for Discord. It's the exact same way as it was there back in 2014. So what that basically alludes to is that whatever like Nerds Inc. was, it was already a thing under the name of Nerds Inc. around 2014, 2015. Yeah, that would explain why iTristan already was developing plugins for the admin back in 2015, which he was. For the April Fool's map, I think, of 2015, iTristan made the plugins. So that means that in early 2015, he was already like friends with the admin. And then after that, the tyranny came with Jared and Talo, and then it rebranded as Nerds Inc. So people think that Nerds Inc. came after the tyranny, but in reality, it already existed in 2014. And you can really look into the ONAP stuff. You can verify it for yourself too. It's not just a skits or Reddit post. He actually uses like archives, team group pages, profile pages. It's all stuff you can verify for yourself. This.
Okay. Well, yeah, I can't endorse anything you just said because I haven't seen
Look
this
into it.
evidence that
I
you're
also,
talking about. It's an interesting
nice
theory.
I have something nice to tell you. So recently, I updated the Nerds Inc. page on the wiki, and I added this information in one paragraph. So if you have trouble understanding it, go to the wiki, type in Nerds Inc. You can read it there.
Oh, and
Nerds Inc.
they
started.
let you put that on there?
I don't care. I don't let other people define my shit. Yeah, my agenda. I'll just do it, and it's correct. Like there's sources. I mean,
Okay. Okay,
yeah.
guys, you have about 15 minutes after this video comes out to go check out that page before they fix it. So,
No, they won't.
um,
But yeah, that's the thing. What my point is, Nerds Inc. existed. It basically is like this. I Tristan also talked about this in his interview with Bezo years ago, where he talked about being in Skype groups with like people, and he's talking about that before the tyranny was a thing. So like, it's not just the ONAP schizo post about the Steam groups. I Tristan also talks about this in his own interview with Bezo. So there's more sources like alluding to this. Something I
okay.
really want to make clear, and that means that you have to realize that was only the third backdoor. You're not going to tell me all those other backdoors happened by coincidence. I think that was all admin favorism. You see those people, they're fucking with your plugins, but why would you
Well,
care? They're your
hold on,
friends.
if the admin favors you, you don't need a backdoor at all.
What I think is happening is that the admin straight up like what's okay, I'll give you an example. Yeah. What I think is happening is that the admin doesn't just give his friends admin, but he gives them an unequal playing field to see what they can do with it. Yeah. That's what I think. And I
Okay.
think Tristan himself did this. So what do you know about, for example, the Mimi grief of the lands in 2016? You know that story, right? How they made the bed chain and then went to the lands and griefed it, right?
It's been a while since I've refreshed on that, but I know about the bed
Okay.
chain thing.
Yeah. So they used the bed TP, to go to the lands. They needed the beds in the perfect position to do it. Tristan was part of the tyranny, wanted it gone too. Yeah. So explain this to me. Why the fuck would they even need a bed TP when they had a backdoor?
Well, isn't them needing the bed TP evidence they didn't have a backdoor?
No, what I think is happening, either like at the time, we don't know how the back door exactly worked, yeah. But for me, if they straight up had a back door, they would not need a bad TP. Yeah, you don't need to exploit. You can just TP over there. You can do whatever. You can world edit the fucking base out of the world if you want to. What I think happened is either the admin like stopped it and just allowed them to like experiment with these plugins, see what's happening, experiment with these exploits. He's not going to patch it because his friends are using it. Or Tristan just was like, yeah, I have a backdoor, but you know what? I think you guys should figure out for yourself how to get to that base. That's way more fun. Like you're allowing your friends to like play the game with cheats on instead of just straight up having admin. And I think that's how it happens. And I think that something similar is happening these days where
I
you're
think you
not
have to
straight up
draw a
having
line
admin.
between I think you have to draw a line between Nerds Inc. and Spawn
Yeah.
Masons because they're not the same.
No, but there's a big overlap ever
There
since
is
Kern flipped
overlap.
the Spawn Mason. Yeah.
No, there is
I also,
overlap. Spawn
yeah.
Masons benefited dramatically from NoCom and from the more recent exploit that Enigma has revealed.
The only
But
reason the
but
Spawn Masons
there's
is
a
even a thing
distinction
now is
there.
because of that.
I would bet you maybe the top 15 or 20 Masons know about it, or let's take the most recent exploit. Maybe the top 15 or so Spawn Masons knew about it, but
Hmm.
I bet you the vast majority of Spawn Masons had no idea that was happening,
Yeah,
and
but
were
they
just
don't matter.
happy
Like
they
those
had
are
more
not
stuff.
those are literally like you were talking about the top 15. So the rest of the group are just like those little plain children that are just added as accessoires. Yeah, those 15 people
Well,
and
that's what
probably
I meant
even
when I
less.
said there's good people in the Spawn Masons, because there is. It's the
Anyone that
leadership and their alliance with the Nerds Inc. hacker organization that has led them astray.
probably. I think my main point is that there is a continuity here. I think that for me to think that there is admin favorism is not that out of the realm of possibilities, considering the fact that not only has it been proven to happen before, but the way it happens also is very similar to how it's done today. You know, it's not just straight up like doing admin stuff. It's also like giving certain exploiters room to experiment, not patch the exploit instantly. Just let's see what happens. That's also with NoCom, by the way. It's an important thing. When NoCom happened, there is no way that the admin did not know this was happening because first of all, the amount of like data the NoCom exploit required is impossible. The admin didn't know that. That's something that's also discussed in the NoCom Fast Vincent podcast, where I think Rebane openly talks about this. And there was also like multiple situations where either after an ONAP post, the packet limiter was immediately lowered. Yeah, so he clearly knew something was happening with the packets. And second, there were situations where the accounts for performing NoCom registered an account nearby, even though there was no player. So not only was the admin seeing that a lot of data was being used, he also lowered the packets right after ONAP made posts about it, about the accounts, but he also teleported to the accounts. This means to me that the admin knew NoCom was happening and allowed it to happen. Why would he intervene? Why wouldn't he patch the exploit? Because it's like he's giving whoever has like a connection to him room to experiment within the set boundaries.
Well, we
Basically,
don't
that's what I
know
think is
that
happening.
the hold on a minute. We don't know the admin. We don't know that the admins, because there's obviously more than one,
Hmm.
um, were the same people in 2021 that they are
Hmm.
today.
We don't know, no.
We
But
don't
I see
know.
the same
And in
behavior.
fact, I would bet the owner is not the same because they changed their logo, they got that new updated website, and they
Hmm.
updated to 1.19. And I think those three things are a sign that ownership changed somewhere around the same time that the logo changed.
Maybe, but
That's what I
considering
think. I think the ownership did change at some point.
it
And
probably changed around, if I were to guess, it changed either in 2019 when To Be really blew up, or in early 2021. That's
yeah.
what I think. But the thing
Well,
is, like, even
it's
if it's
changed hands
true,
more
yeah,
than once, I would say.
the thing is,
It
I have
changed
not a
hands
lot of
post 2016. I
yeah.
would guess it changed hands post 2016 at least twice.
For what you would have to, I've not had time yet to like completely explore ONEP's latest post where he basically proves all the admins, all their identities. Um, yeah, even if there's a new admin, why would I think things are going to change? Like this stuff has been
Well,
happening
why
since
would the new admin
2014.
be favoriting? I mean, even if you think one of the previous admins favorited
Yeah,
Nerds Inc., why
yeah.
would the new admin also favorite Nerds Inc.?
I have no reason to believe it didn't happen, considering the fact this stuff has happened for 9 years. If you take 2014 as a starting point, you can even take 2013 as a starting point, because don't forget that second backdoor also happened by Tristan. If he actually, like, it's possible that was already like something that the admin was aware of and just allowed to happen. Yeah, it's not out of the question for me. That means that stuff has happened for basically a decade, and for me, it's hard to believe that now suddenly that would change. I don't think
I
that
don't
you.
know about all that. I mean,
Huh?
this is stuff that is all very, very interesting, and our viewers can look into it and decide for themselves what they want to believe about it.
Very important thing. There's also sources for all of this. It's not just like theories or ideas. You can find a lot of this information yourself in interviews, source code, archived web pages. This is something that I've been reconstructing during the museum project like for a
It
while
just
now.
doesn't seem logical
And
to me. Some of the stuff you're saying, it just doesn't seem,
like
doesn't make
what?
sense.
Like what?
Well, again, as I said, I don't think the current owners are the same as the ones who you are alleging favorited or was playing favorites with Nerds Inc. I don't think the current owners are the same.
Who knows? Even if the owner changed, that would only have impacted to be for the last year or so, maybe 2 years. And all the things I'm talking about are things happening between 2014 and 2021. So
Okay.
let's hope. Maybe it would be cool if we have an admin that actually like. Well, he did unprowban me, so that's a nice thing.
Yeah.
That's also a
Hey,
big sign that.
you got on Band. That's good news, right? So let's talk about something else because we could spend all night talking about different different admin theories or different theories about the Masons. But
Mhm.
let's talk about the museum for a little bit because that is a
Yep,
really really big build, and I toured it on on the channel. Hopefully you saw that.
I did.
Um, it's a very very impressive structure, and I'm sure gathering together all that
Thank you.
history was very very time consuming. So
Yep, it was.
where did you
Yep.
get the idea for a museum? And then tell me a little bit about the construction and all of
Yeah,
that.
I'll go into it. So this story nicely starts where we ended because we ended with NoCom, and now I quit for a bit, and then we are in late 2021, and I built a first museum. That was the first one in 2021, a very like small, relatively small cathedral with like 200 banners in it. That's the first time I also started actually looking into the history. Like in 2021, late 2021, I didn't know anything about 2E history. I didn't even know all these groups. So I actually had to like look into it unironically to like get all the banners and put it in chronological order. Um, and then in 2020, so that was the first museum in 2021, in the Spear Cathedral. Is a German cathedral I created.
Hmm.
So I was continuing building cathedrals like I did before, making it more elaborate, more diverse every time. Um, then in May 2022, we made the wedding event with again a cathedral, this time the Duomo from Florence. I'm not sure if you know about that one, but it's like from the Fit video with the wedding that was crashed or something. Have you seen that?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
That's the one
So
that has that's a French cathedral.
no, it's from Florence, so Italy. Red Dome.
Oh,
Yeah,
Florence.
basically Florence. Sorry,
Yeah,
Florence.
okay. That's a very famous
And
cathedral.
yep, and that was May 2022. Like I at that time, COVID was ending. I also had just a life to work on, so I was less active. I was also still proud band, by the way. I did those things while getting proud band all the time. I wasted like 3 accounts just to build that cathedral. Um, but yeah, so that's why I have multiple accounts now because I kept getting proud band while building the wedding one, and I missed the event too. I missed the event because I was kicked from the game and proud band. So
Hmm.
yeah. So that's when in July 2022, um, I started the museum project. It's already like over a year ago now. And basically, I was just really like annoyed by the fact that if you really want to learn something about the history, you were not able to actually find it because Fit just makes exaggerated nonsense, you know? And the wiki is just Joey Coconut Chronicles. So where are you gonna find like actual history, with sources, with actual annotation, with an objective story? So, for context, in real life, I'm actually a historian. I have a master's degree in history. I'm an expert on fascism.
Interesting.
So I actually am able to do these things, and I'm also like I've been completely like I've I like all the groups that I had issues with in the past. I don't hate those people at all. But because I'm not in all those groups, I think I'm more objective. I'm able to actually take a distance from all the drama that's happening and make an objective story there. Way more than like someone like Joey Coconut is able to do. Joey's only able to, discuss his own chronicles in the Tolkien-esque lore of 2B2T, where he tries to insert himself in every major event. That's not how actual history is written. You're not going to write your own history, basically. And on top of that, I had done multiple cathedrals, but I wanted to do the big one, which is the St. Peter's from Vatican City. That's where the Pope resides. The big one, The St.
So
Peter's
the
Basilica.
museum is actually
Yeah.
St. Peter's Basilica?
Yeah, the St. Peter's Basilica, which for centuries was the pinnacle of Western civilization. Like, it's beautiful, If you just look
I
at the
didn't
pictures of
notice
it.
that. I didn't notice that that's what it was. But I think it's because it doesn't have the
Square
courtyard
in
with like
front.
the ring
Yep. Yep.
at the
I
front.
wanted to do that first, but that would just look really like. Well, the thing is with me, and maybe that's interesting to talk about, like how I build. Yeah. Like first of all, I am autistic. Yeah. Like most people on 2B2T.
Okay.
But there's something very interesting about autistic people. So when you ask, like a child, for example, to draw a house, what do? They make a square, and then they put a triangle on top of it, and often they do like a chimney with some smoke coming out of it, maybe a fence next to it, right? That's how a kid draws like a
Sure.
house.
Sure.
How do they make a church? Well, they make a house and then put a cross on top of it, maybe with a bigger gate or something. But like they have this very abstract idea of what a house is or what a church is.
Right.
Autistic people have a hard time doing this. They cannot very easily make like an abstract idea based on different entities they have seen in real life. So when I'm autistic, yeah, I know this, not like extremely, but I have at least have traces of it. But when I build, I have a hard time building something straight out of my mind. I can't do it. I have to replicate something that exists in real life. All my cathedrals on 2B are one-on-one recreations of existing cathedrals. And when I do my research for it, I look at pictures, I measure how, like I go to Google Earth, I check how wide it is, I take blueprints, and I try to replicate it on a one-on-one scale, which is of course extremely hard because in Minecraft every block is a meter wide, and a meter tall. And in real life, there's way more details, so you're gonna have to make sacrifices when you're trying to translate a real life building into Minecraft. But that's how I build. I replicate stuff that exists, which is still creative in a way, but it's very different than probably most people. Like I cannot freehand, for example. I cannot just start building something out of my imagination. That's doesn't work for me.
Interesting.
And that's where the autism really shows. That's like, yeah, I cannot.
Well,
I cannot.
because of that though,
Yeah?
because of that though, you're probably the best church builder on 2B2T. I don't think anybody else is doing churches as big
There are a
or
few.
as impressive or other historic buildings.
Not historic. There's one guy. His name is King Aurelius. He's in the Lost Templar. He makes like massive cathedrals.
Yeah.
But his style is very different than mine because what he does, which is also cool. Like I don't want to downplay that, to be very clear. But he is like I limit myself because I limit myself to the human capabilities, basically.
Right.
Like what you'll notice with my builds, for example, that the windows are very small overall. Why? Because even if you stack 4 glass blocks on top of each other, that's already 4 meters.
Right.
In real life, windows are not 25 meters tall. Like that just doesn't work like that. That guy, King Aurelius, makes amazing cathedrals, big ones. But they also have like things that don't exist in real life.
Yeah, they're
They have
bigger. Yeah,
giant-
they're bigger than would ever be
Yeah,
practical in real life.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's something I can't. I wish I could. I want to. If I ever design something again, I'll try to do it. Because that is actual creativity. He is able to make an abstract idea of what a cathedral is and then build it. That's actual creativity. What I do is I limit myself by sticking to like a concrete example of a church. That's why I bring this story up because like that's how I build. That's that's how my autism shows basically. And that's like his builds are amazing. Like I'm sure you're aware of it.
Oh
but they're,
yeah,
like,
yeah. A
basically-
side note on King Aurelian, he's like one of the best builders on the server, probably.
Oh yeah.
I think he's top 5.
Oh yeah. And
So-
a big difference between his cathedrals and mine is also that mine. That's also a thing I've really tried from the start is give him like a purpose. I hate buildings that are just empty or just sitting there. Mine have always been used for something, whether it's Fight Club, or Nomad games, or Pit Fight, or like the Watchmen Citadel, where you're just building it, like even though everyone knew we were there, or like the museum, or the Oscars event, or the wedding event. Like that shit is always built to do something there and to get it destroyed. There's a very different approach than most people probably do. You know, you don't see
Right.
me building mega builds at like some base that only I have access to. It's boring to me. Um, but yeah, that's how the museum project started. I started with like a blueprint from Google Maps, made a pixel art out of it, and then put it on the floor of the map, and then just start designing it from there.
Hmm.
And meanwhile, I was doing the research for it, which was a lot, a lot of research because it's like 590 articles. Some are short, some are really, really detailed. Like you can imagine what my book on the third backdoor is like. How you just heard me rambling. All of that
You
is
can
in that
probably
article.
find full. Oh, you meant research on the history, is what you meant.
Yeah, yeah, the history of the server.
I
Yeah.
thought you were saying you researched the construction of that building in real life or
Not the
something.
no, not the not the construction. If you mean the construction as it was being built in the past, no.
Yeah.
But the building itself, like how it is, yeah, I have. Yeah, I know. I now know what St. Peter's looks like,
Hmm.
even though I've never been there.
Yeah, that well, and the history research for doing that museum must have been crazy because I mean, I saw it and there's thousands of books in there. Thousands.
590. Yeah,
There's how many?
590
Okay,
articles.
590. How many
Yeah.
banners?
So I would have to check exactly. So what we did is we actually identified all banners we could, and that means also, for example, we scanned the world download projects from like 2019 and 2021 and all that.
Hmm.
Now we only did the 2021 one, sorry, because that other one has already been done. And we also scanned we scanned that world download, the 256K world download, and then got all the recipes out of it, and then removed all the ones that were already in the database, and then add all the new ones. But
Wow.
those were not in the museum. So the full database we have has like 2,500 banners, but in the museum it was like 1,600, and those are all identified. Like they're all like we know exactly what they are basically.
Yeah. There were so many. I mean, I was dropping frames. Like the whole time I was walking through that, I was like, is it the lecterns? Like what is it? What is doing it for me? And then Enigma told me it was probably the banners.
In 1.12, it was so bad that at the end, when I was walking through the museum, the game barely would load, even if I had like 12 gigabytes allocated to the RAM.
We
It
just get
just
like 1 FPS
yes,
because
and then
yeah.
when the server updated, it was fluid again. So I don't know what changed, but it was so bad that I was even like I thought for a while that it was causing lag. Like this stuff can cause lag on the server, and I semi expected the admin to just kill all entities within a 500 block radius or something. Like
Right.
because you're basically building a big lag machine. There's banners, map arts, and books all within like two regions. Like,
Right. Right. There's some really impressive map art in that museum too. Really
oh
impressive.
yeah,
Probably the
thanks to map
nicest,
art
some of the
outpost.
nicest
Oh
map
yeah,
art on the server, if not the nicest.
thanks to map art outpost. It's like a group that brings all map arts together. I was able to get all those.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's some impressive stuff in there. It's especially the Angel's Mirror one. That's the one that's like 12 by 21 of the giant angel from a mirror made by
Yeah.
Kevin KC 2014.
Yeah,
That's a
that one was
whole
very,
like
very cool.
yeah.
So
But
have
yeah,
you
the
thought
museum was
about
yeah. Go ahead.
have you thought about reaching out to Fit with the museum?
I think I sent him one message and he never got back to me. But
Yeah.
the thing is also that's like because I kind of felt obligated to do it. But this project is not made like the work is so much like it's not like I did this project to maybe get a fit video out of it. Like
Well,
not to mention
if there was anything that ever deserved it, I mean, this would be it,
thank you. Much appreciated. But the
you
thing
know.
is, Fit probably would never do it because, first of all, there's also like stuff discussed in there that Fit does not want to talk about. Yeah. And also, there's also a book called The Rise and Mistakes by Fit MC. And a lot of those articles also straight up debunk shit that he spread, which is nonsense.
Well,
This.
he can always just edit that out.
No, we don't want. I don't want that. Like, that's the thing. Like, of course, it would be cool, but it's not like there's more things. I'm happy this project went the way it did.
Yeah.
And yeah, I sent him one message, but also with the intent of like I'm not gonna. I know that he was. Oh, I actually forgot to tell this. So Virl, who also was at the museum, reached out to him himself, and he told Fit, "Do you want to go here?" And Fit said, "Oh yeah, I'll definitely come after I upload my 1.19 video." And
Oh,
I had invited 30 people at that base at the time. So
oh,
I was like, this base is not going to survive that long, even if he's planning to go.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean,
so I,
if we don't really know if it's ever going to come back, but if he does come back, his video backlog is going to be insane.
mhm.
It's like 1.19 update, new NoCom level exploit, uh, giant museum thing. Like, there's just so many things now that he has to make videos on, or
Well, why
he
would he make
you
new
know.
videos on those things when new topics arrive in and of themselves? Like,
That's
I don't
true.
think he's gonna like.
New topics are coming along every day.
Yeah,
2B
yeah.
is not as active as it was in the past, though. There's not as much crazy shit happening as there used to be.
It's that, and if it's not gonna come back, there's a big chance it will just not survive that over a long time. I think we'll see
I
about that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna have a real hard time.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah. But that was the museum project, and it was done like while I was writing all the books. We already built the first one, which was Grieved,
hmm
because I thought it was a good idea to invite all members of BSB and 5C basically, because I was in both groups at the time, and eventually it got leaked to Maxi, Taxi, and Grieved, and I have no one else to blame for that but myself in the end. But I have my own theories on how that went down, but that's not something I can really prove. Like it's just visions. But,
well, yeah, you had to build it twice, right? Because it got
yeah.
yeah.
Well, we didn't build it twice. We started building it the first time and we're on our way, and then it got griefed. But Enigma has stepped in basically then, like right before that, and she knows so much about baritone and like I'm a chimpanzee when it comes down to coding or anything remotely reminding of the 21st century. You know, I
Uh-huh.
was like, I'm just when I built all my cathedrals, I would just like load the schematic and just let baritone run wild, which means it would skip blocks, it would be a chaos. She taught me how to build in layers, use printer, like that really makes a difference, you know. So building it again was not that much, like it was grind, you know, but it was not impossible at all. It was really cool. Yeah. So I thank her for that because without her I probably would not have been able to do it. And
Yeah.
for like we built it in like 6 weeks or something, to be honest. The research took months, you know, identifying every banner, fixing all the books, and I'm a perfectionist, so the shit's not gonna like. There's still errors everywhere, but it's hard to get everything perfect with 590 books. You know, like it's.
Oh yeah, and there's
But
no one else who's even done anything anywhere near close to this. So,
yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I had people tell me, "Oh yeah, I have something twice as big at my main base, but I can't show you any of it." I've had that happen a few times.
uh,
It's
okay.
or people tell me that like I have now like at my main base, or I still have like all the banners, you know, copies of them.
Yeah.
And they would tell me, "Oh yeah, I have 5 times more all identified." And
Five
it took me a
times
year.
more banners.
It took me a year and a half to identify all those. So like, how did you do that?
I have
It's not
so many
true. It's
banners, I get negative FPS.
that's also a little thing in the 2B community I don't like. Like I don't like the conformism, but I also don't like people so like they don't like someone else doing something cool, so they just try to downgrade it immediately.
Yeah.
I had Dectonic tell me in a DM like, "Oh yeah, the museum project, great idea, poor execution." Like, I don't even know who this guy is. He's just mad I griefed his lodge over 2 years ago, and that's like the message, like stuff like that. You know, it's there
Right.
were a few people that were able to appreciate it despite maybe personal issues with me, which is really cool. You know, and some people just they will not acknowledge it for what it is, and they'll also do that to other people. Obviously, it's not just not to me.
Yeah. Well, that's
I'm
just,
pretty, yeah,
that's how 2B
yeah,
is. It's a sad truth.
yep,
So, do you have any do you have any final thoughts before we close out the interview?
yeah. Why did you want to interview me in the first place? That's something I would like to know.
Well, I really like the museum, and as I said earlier in the interview, I'm kind of reaching out to people and trying to build bridges and just build up more positive relationships, have like normal conversations with people. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's cool to share that with the audience, especially when I'm talking to somebody who has so much history, so much experience. You know, you are a pretty high profile player, and I just felt it would make for a good episode.
Interesting. Does this mean that what are the odds? What's odds are bigger? Okay, Joey or Kizzy appearing on the DonFuer podcast?
Joey. The odds are bigger for Joey.
Okay, I think Joey should go next. That's what I think.
Joey's already appeared on the podcast.
He did? Oh, I
Yeah,
missed
like
out on that.
2 years ago.
Huh. Yeah, okay, the new podcast then.
Yeah,
The new
I have I believe attempted to invite him. Actually, when I did the episode about the update,
hmm
I tried to invite him, and then I tried to invite Galvatron. I think I may be
mm.
misremembering this. Anyway, the point is
Uh,
that they don't want to go on the podcast, but
I have another
neither one of them
question.
wants to go. I would love to have them if they
I
wanted
have a
to.
few, very, like, not many, but I have something I would like to ask too, again.
Sure, sure, go ahead.
So what are your current thoughts on BSB? Because you once tried to convince me that they are like the most dangerous group on 2B. So I would like to know
Yeah,
whether
I
you
think
still
they are.
believe that. Can
Yeah,
you tell me why?
I think they are. Well, they dox and they grief. That's about it.
How come that I've never experienced anything like that? The first thing that is. Grieving, yes.
What do you mean you've
Doxing.
never experienced? Sorry, what?
I've never seen that happen in. Okay, I'll tell you a story. Okay. So I've never seen BSB members dox someone, ever. Yeah.
Okay.
Myself. I cannot, of course, guarantee that it didn't happen elsewhere, but I
I
never
mean, it
saw
is
it.
it is
Yeah.
well known that they do.
Not for me, and I've known the group for 2 years, so
Okay.
I and not to mention I've also experienced the group from the inside, yeah. And I've also, whenever that shit was brought up, most of the time it would be explicitly told not to do. So
I mean, they're
why would,
talking about token logging constantly, and
yeah? So
they bluff and say, "Oh, we've ratted you, we've token logged you, blah 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 blah."
yeah, but that's
They
trolling.
gaslight people into thinking they've been
No,
token logged and ratted.
yeah, but that's
Uh,
different. Deloaded, you
I don't
cannot tell
really
me
know what
that.
happened with Calico Sun if they did actually rat him or not.
No, they
But
didn't. Come on, listen,
the
that's
point the
trolling.
point is,
Okay,
I don't want to get into the weeds on like specific examples of they dox this person, they dox
I
that person.
will.
The fact is, I've had private conversations with some of them where they have
hmm
straight up admitted that they condone um, they condone the doxing and the ratting and that type of activity. And I
Let me tell
think
you a
the
story. Yeah,
2BGT community needs to just have a zero tolerance policy for that. If that's a line you just should not cross. And
I mostly agree. I think only Mr. Gibson is the only one you should like allow that to do. The rest is just that's something I really don't like is actual like weaponized doxing. You know,
yeah, I hate it. It's terrible.
there's also like funny like if you just like I had a friend for example. Okay, I had a friend, Mr. Allnet. He was the leader of a Mew Revolution. I think you know him because
Yeah.
I think you like there was a whole piece or like a treaty between DawnFuer and Mew, and I broke it by grieving
Yeah,
DawnFuer.
I remember that. I remember.
Mr. Allnet was doxxed by a commie of the Gulag. How surprising. Yeah.
Okay.
All his information was on the internet and including his like blah. He coped with it, he dealt with it. And Mr. Allnet has nothing to fear. He's a civil guy, he has no secrets, you know. Yeah, they sent something to his house, I think, but in the end, like he didn't suffer from it. And he eventually in his group it became kind of a meme. They would do like the drawing game, you know, and every time they would do the drawing game, they would draw his house, for example. Yeah, they would keep drawing his house, but he would do it himself too. Now, would you say that's considered like dangerous doxing?
Well, I mean, there's a lighthearted way to handle it, but
Yeah,
I think obviously he would have preferred if that never happened to him in the first place. So,
yeah, but it was out there, and then it's such a meme. Like you have to be careful. That's what I think you're confusing with the Beast B stuff. From what I hear, is that you're probably just confusing stuff like that. Because I've also had people like he had like for example, I changed my IGN once to his name, yeah, which was so known that it didn't matter, and he found it super funny that I did that. And some people try to misconstrue that as me doxing him. Yeah.
Well,
Whereas
but
I
that
would
is what.
argue,
But hold. But that is what you're doing then. If you changed
no,
your.
that's like saying that like Fit is you're doxing Fit because you're calling him Peter. Yeah, that information is so public and so out there that it's like it's losing it. Yeah, and it's also not weaponized because it's literally an inside joke. So I think whenever you're judging these B, I get the vibe that it's something like that. Yeah, it's not the same as actual weaponized doxing, which does happen in Anarchy. Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay.
I've never seen DSB. I've never seen DSB do that in my experiences. If anything, I've seen the opposite. And I would call them out if they did it, which I've done in the past to people. So
Well, we're gonna have
yeah.
to agree to disagree on that.
Mm.
I think you haven't seen the bad side of them in a way that a lot of the community has.
To be fair, like 90% of their members are either 12 or about to turn 17. So I'm not surprised that they probably made mistakes in the past. But
Yeah, I mean
I've never seen
they're
it.
literally just like high school bullies basically. That's what they are. But
Nah, BSB is my favorite
it's
group
all
ever.
besides the point.
Last question. Um, what do you
Are
think
you
of the
interviewing me now? Is that what we're
Yeah.
doing?
Last question. What do you think of the criticism that DonFuer builds no interiors?
Well, we don't. Not really.
And why is that?
I don't know. Look, some of our members do build interiors. It's mostly a criticism of me because
Why don't
I finish a house or I finish a building and then I'm looking at it and it's like, "Oh man, do I really want to go put a digital couch inside this, like no, I would rather just go build the next house." So,
hmm.
no one's living in these buildings, right? They're all for fun and for show anyway. So, I kind of feel like if it's here, well, here's my philosophy, right? If it's a big building, if it's a big castle or a huge hall or something, then I actually do try to put interiors in them. I don't always manage to do it. Sometimes the base gets grief before I end up being able to do it. But
Hmm.
because putting an interior in a giant castle actually takes about the same amount of time that it took to build the castle. It kind of doubles the build
Hmm.
time. But
Hmm.
anyway, if it's a big building, yeah, I want to put an interior because I know players are probably going to go inside it, uh, and that's like half the experience. But if it's just a little house on the side or what, it doesn't always need to have an interior. And I know for a fact, by the way, that this criticism is just nonsense, pretty much. Like you can go look on the archive. DonFuer is not uniquely guilty of this. You can go on the archive and look at other famous bases,
Hmm.
Avalisium
Oh yeah.
or whatever, or some of Joey's bases, and just free cam inside some of the houses, and you'll find a remarkable lack of interior. So
Yeah.
we're not the only ones. To me, that's just a shitty criticism because nobody has anything better.
Okay. Very, very last question, and then we're like it's over for me. My questions. So, what are your sincere thoughts on Kit Nightingale?
What do you mean, my sincere thoughts?
Yeah, Kit Nightingale. He
Okay, I
wants
mean,
to.
Kid Nightingale is somebody I do not frequently think about, but
Oh,
um,
okay.
I don't know. They're fine, I guess.
Okay. I just really needed to know that. Okay. Well, those were my questions. Do you have anything to say?
No. Do you have anything you want to plug, Frank, before we close out the interview? Well, I
No,
suppose
I'm done.
aren't you quitting 2B after this?
I'm done. Well, the thing is, I've stopped to be before, yeah, and it's like a meme. Oh, I quit for real this time, and we'll
Uh-huh.
see what happens. But I just cannot be bothered with big projects when I'm at the leisure of the spawn masons. Yeah, I don't want to fucking play to be and hope that either I'm nice enough that like they'll not like disturb my project. Yeah, or that the admin straight up turns again and proud bans me again, which has happened before. I can't be bothered with that. I have better things to do. There are other games to play. There are books to read. Why would I waste my time and money on this? So I really like. I'm
So
just
you're quitting
done.
for
Like
real
I
this time.
we'll see, but I'm done. I'm done with the
We'll
admin. I'm
see.
done with the spawn masons. I'm done with the cancerous community filled with yes men and people that are just so fucking plain stupid. I'm done with it. I'm done with 2B.
Okay.
And I'll
Awesome.
probably be back one day, but we'll see.
Well, that was a very interesting conversation. I hope everybody out there enjoyed it. Frank has some very interesting opinions, some wild opinions, but it's some stuff to think about and some interesting topics. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Remember to like,
Can
comment,
I do some
and
shout outs?
subscribe. What do you want to shout out?
I want to shout out Clown 2B2T, McDonald's, Waltz, and Dima788. Thank you very much.
Okay, very cool. Uh, Thank you for watching, everybody. See you next time.